पादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Today we will be discussing on Bhagavad-Gita chapter 10 verse 31 Sloka 10.31. So I will read the verse, synonyms, translation and purport now. The verse is as follows. Pavanav pavatamasmi ramashastra-bhritamaham jashanam makaraschasmi shrotasamasmi janhavi. Synonyms. Pavanaha, the wind. Pavatam, of all that purifies. Asmi, I am. Ramaha, Rama. Shastra Bhritam, of the carriers of weapons. Aham, I am. Jashanam, of all fish. Makaraha, the shark. Cha, also. Asmi, I am. Shrotasam, of flowing rivers. Asmi, I am. Janhavi, the river Ganges. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Of purifiers I am the wind, of the wielders of weapons I am Rama, of fishes I am the shark, and of flowing rivers I am the Ganges. Purport. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna. So, let's get into our discussion now. So we are reading from Bhagavad-Gita chapter 10, and the chapter 10 of Bhagavad-Gita is like the essence of the whole Gita. So the Gita can be compared to a sandwich where the bread at the bottom is like the Karma Yoga, which is chapters 1 to 6, and the bread at the top is like the Jnana Yoga or chapters 13 to 18. And the vegetable stuffing or the essence which is in between both the breads is the essence or the chapters 7 to 12 which emphasize on Bhakti Yoga. So of 7 to 12 are 6 chapters. So the middle two are 9 and 10. So the 9 and 10 are essence of the whole Gita. So chapter 9 is titled the most confidential knowledge, and chapter 10 is titled the opulence of the absolute. So from the title itself we can understand that it has something to do, it has everything to do with the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So here in this chapter, the previous chapter, the Supreme Lord gives elaborate knowledge on the Supreme about the most confidential thing, or the what is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita, that is Bhakti Yoga, has been explained in the 9th chapter in detail. And in the last sloka, that is Bhagavad Gita 9.34, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhya jimam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktva evam atmanam mad parayanaha. Engage your mind in always thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, you will surely come to me. So this is the end of the 9th chapter. So this verse is basically like the essence of the whole Gita. So now in Kali Yuga, the jivas are already in this material world, everybody is conditioned. And in Kali Yuga, the conditioning goes high to such an extent that it becomes difficult to follow these things. So to engage the mind in always thinking of the Lord, to become the Lord's devotee, so to offer obeisances, namaskuru, and worship me, madhyaji. So this is all becoming very difficult as the people are so much attached to the family, friends, relatives, ato griha kshetra sutapta vittaihi. So they're attached, and it becomes difficult for them to perform these simple activities. So in keeping this thought in line, the Supreme Lord in the next chapter he says, listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my very dear friend, for your benefit I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. So he is going to explain something more high, more elevated. So the first 8 verses of the 10th chapter are just an introduction to the Supreme Lord's opulences. The Supreme Lord in essence of the essence, he gives his opulences a touch to his opulences in the first 8 verses, and in the first 7 verses actually, and the 8th verse to the 11th verse is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, or the Chatushloki. So the 4 main slokas, which are aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. So I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly, they engage in my devotional service and they worship me with all their hearts. So this is the 8th verse. In the 9th verse also he says that the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Bodhayantaha parasparam. So talking about the Supreme Lord. And then, so these 2 verses describe about what the devotees do for the Supreme Lord. And then the next 2 verses, so 10th and 11th, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the intelligence by which they can come to me. So, and the 11th verse also says that to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So, these 2 verses, the 10th and 11th one, they speak about what the Lord does in reciprocation with to his devotees. So then, after this, in the 12th verse, Arjuna finally realizes that the Supreme Lord is that Krishna is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he affirms this statement in the 12th verse till the 18th verse, and then at the end, in the 18th and the 17th verses, he requests the Supreme Lord to describe his opulences so that he can constantly think about him, constantly remember him in various forms. So then the Supreme Lord says, yes, definitely I will tell you, but those that are, in the 19th verse he says, those that are chief, pradhanyataha, this word is used, which says that the opulences which are the chief, only those I will be telling you, because my opulences are unlimited. He says in Bhagavad Gita 10.41 and 42, after describing all of these opulences, so there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. And in the this is the 40th verse. In the 41st and 42nd also, he explains that his opulences are unlimited, and no ordinary jiva can, even the great sages also are sometimes bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. Never mind the conditioned souls who are here stuck in this Kali Yuga. They are like just wandering aimlessly and changing bodies, and they are trying to gain enjoyment, but in the longer run it harms them only. So these kind of jivas who are stuck, they are nitya baddha, they are eternally bound until they get the association of a bona fide Vaishnava, and they can go back to the supreme abode. So these people, they cannot understand these opulences, the unlimited opulences. These cannot be understood even by the great sages and the demigods. Never mind these conditioned souls like us. So here, that's why he is giving us the essence only. So pradhanyataha, which is the essences. So here also previously in the Bhagavad-Gita in Sloka 8.5 and 8.6 he says Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yav prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. So yam vapi smaran bhavam tejatyante kalevaram tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So whoever at the end of this life he quits his body remembering me alone, he attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So these are the two verses which describe that if we want to go back to the Supreme Lord's abode, we need to think about him at death. So to think about him at death, we need to practice from now, and the way to practice from now is sadhana bhakti. Then it slowly goes up to prema bhakti, where we are spontaneously attracted to the Supreme Lord, and then we finally become nitya siddhas or eternally liberated souls. So through the description of these opulences, the common man or the fallen conditioned soul, the common man, he can get a chance to think of the Supreme Lord. So to constantly remember the Supreme Lord. So these are the opulences which are given, by which we constantly think about the Lord, and then we can remember him at death. So the practice for the final examination has to be started from now. So like the student who has spent the whole year preparing for the final examination, for him it is easy, as compared to the student who spends the whole year enjoying, but the final few weeks of the academic year he spends in preparing for the final exam. So the first case, or the student who spends the whole year learning, for him it becomes easier. So similarly, when a conditioned soul practices this process from the starting itself, it becomes easier for him at the final examination, which is death. So now to think of them, of the Supreme Lord, these are the opulences which are given, and four of these opulences which we are studying are given in Bhagavad-Gita 10.31, which we are reading now. So of the purifiers, the Supreme Lord says that he is the wind, and of the wielders of the weapons, I am Rama. So Rama is also known as Sarangapani, Kodandapani and Kodanda Rama. So the pastimes of Lord Ram are elaborately given in the Ramayana, which is composed by the great sage Valmiki, who got inspired by Narada and Brahma to write this great epic named Ramayana. So describing the life story of Lord Ram. So the Supreme Lord says that out of all the wielders of weapons, he is Rama. And of the fishes, the Supreme Lord is the shark. The shark is the representation of Krishna among the fishes, because the shark is the most powerful, the biggest, the most dangerous to man, the most enormous, and that's why the shark represents Krishna, the most powerful. So Krishna is the most powerful, and the shark is the most powerful among the fishes. So thus the representation, thus it is compared to Krishna. And of the flowing rivers, the Supreme Lord is the Ganges. So the Ganges river or the Ganga river is the river which emanated from the toe of Lord Vishnu, and Bhagiratha is responsible, or he is the person who performed austerities to bring Ganga down to earth, to liberate his ancestors who were the sons of King Sagara, the 60,000 sons of King Sagara, who went to look for the horse, the sacrificial horse, in the sacrifice which Sagar Maharaj was performing, and this horse was stolen by Indra and kept in the ashram of sage Kapila. So then when they went, they started hurling abuses at Kapila, and then Kapila burned them to ashes. So to liberate them, Kapila Muni said that they had to bring Ganga down. So Ganga came down, and Lord Shiva held Ganga, the pressure of Ganga on himself. So this is the pastime of the Ganges. How Ganges is this is the only sacred river which flows throughout the universe. So in the earth it is called Ganga, in upper planets it is called Mandakini, and in the lower planets it is called Bhogavati. So this Ganges water can even purify the asses and cows. So we should not consider this Ganges water as impure. So wherever it goes, this Ganges, it purifies the land and the person taking bath in it. So at the end we can see that if we just engage in the devotional service of the Lord, we need not worry about anything, because when we engage in the devotional service of the Lord, all of these opulences are given to for us to think about the Supreme Lord at the end of life. When we practice devotional service, all this becomes easy. So these are the 4 opulences which are given in Bhagavad-Gita 10.31, a summary description, and these opulences are given by the Supreme Lord only for our benefit, and we must realize that the Supreme Lord is an unlimited person. So for him, his opulences are unfathomable, they are fathomless, but for us, he kindly narrates these opulences so that we can be benefited and we can think about him. So I would like to conclude my humble explanation here, my humble attempt to explain this verse here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams.